Hey, what's up guys, this is Fatal Cubes here, and in this video we will be starting 2048 and creating the game loop. So to start off, I'm in a fresh workspace here. Just ignore this project here, and go ahead and create a new Java project. I'm going to name mine 2048 because of logical purposes. Now under 2048, under source, do new package. And we're going to name the package com.fatalcubes.game. You guys should probably name it com.whatever your gaming company is or whatever. I'm going to put Fatal Cubes here. .game. Alright, that's just kind of conventions. Otherwise, you can name your package whatever you want to name it. And we're going to make a new class in here called start. We talked about this in the plan, what start's going to do. And start's a very simple class. 1 second, I'm gonna change my font so it's a bit bigger for you guys to see. So I'll just go to Java editor font, edit. Let's do Trey Budget, and let's do 11. Okay, apply. Okay. All right. Start method right here, and we'll create the game class in a moment, but what we're going to do is create that game class, and then we want to create the JFrame, window equals new JFrame, and we'll name it 2048. That'll be displayed across the top. Import that, Control-Shift-O. We're going to set the default close operation to jframe.exit on close. Resizable is false. We're going to add game because game will be a JPanel. Then we're going to pack the window. Set the why didn't that create a new line? We're going to go ahead and set the location relative to null. This will just center it on the screen when we test it out, and then at the very end set it visible to true and start the game. Game.start's gonna start the initial thread, and that's what's gonna get the actual game going. So let's go ahead and create that game class. Name it game, and alright, so that fixes some problems in here. First thing we're going to do in game is do some stuff. We're going to make it extend JPanel, because remember, this is a panel we're going to use for drawing on, and it's going to be added directly to the frame. Import that. It's going to implement key listener and runnable, because there'll be a thread in here, and import key listener. Add the unimplemented methods. Just delete that. Keep the override, and I'm going to name these to E. Okay. And that's the run method right there. Now let's go give it some variables. If you highlight over this underlined sort of yellow, it says the serializable class game does not declare static final serial version UID field of type long. Just add the default, which will be 1L. Get rid of that there. That'll get rid of that error. Let's create some static final integers. We're gonna name one width. This is gonna be the width of the screen. We're gonna set it to 400 for now. We'll set it to something else later when you'll see. Height equals 630. These won't be changed after the game starts running. That's why we made it the screen's not resizable. I'm not spelling public today. Public static final font. So the font we're going to be using for everything is going to be a new font. I'll include the file in the description. Pabis Nue Regular. Found this font on dafont.com. If you don't like this font, just go to dafont.com. They have really good font selections. I found this. I've been using it. It's really nice. font plain, and we're going to set its initial size to 28. Font on plain just refers to is it italicized, plain, or bold. We want it just to be plain. We're going to create the game thread, and we're going to go ahead and have a variable to keep track of if the game thread is running for starting and stopping the thread. And this is a buffered image for the screen of width, height, and the type is going to be RGB. So type is going to be int RGB. I keep saying RBG. Now this image, so we see that we made it the entire screen. All the drawing is going to be done on this image using this image's graphics, and then that's going to be drawn to the JPanel's graphics. So it's kind of, this is like double buffering in a sense. You don't get that flickering. Let's create a start time. This is for keeping track of if we should update. And Boolean set. This we won't use in this video, but we will be using that in a future video. As for the constructor of game, I'm trying to hurry up and get this done in this video, so I'm sorry if you guys don't. One thing that I want to make sure is that you guys know basic Java and that I shouldn't have to explain this too much. Just watching my Java tutorial series as it is currently is not enough knowledge. You need to have some basic understanding. Just follow along. We need to set focusable to true. This allows keyboard input to be set. And we need to set, of course, the preferred size. And this will determine how big the frame is. We'll set it to width and height. Then we're going to add the key listener to this. Alright. We need two methods. And private void render. Update will be called 60 times a second. Render will be called 60 times a second, even though the render method can be called as many times per second as you want. Some people like to call this as many times just to see what their FPS is, if it's up to like 500 or if it's like around 100 or just above 60. So in update, we're not going to do anything right now because we haven't created the board class. And in render, we're going to do a few things. We're going to go ahead and create a graphics 2D object called G, and that's going to be equal to cast graphics 2D to the image's graphics. So this is the actual image that we'll be drawing to. Graphics 2D misspelled. Okay. We're just going to clear the screen. Then we will fill a rectangle. G.fillRect. There's a comma there. Fill rect. At width and height. Import color. So this is going to draw a white rectangle around the entire screen. So we can kind of clear it. And we're going to render the board. So right where that comment is, we will be rendering the board, but we don't have that right now. And then after that's done, we're going to dispose of the graphics. Then we're going to create another graphics 2D object called G2D, and that's going to be equal to graphics 2D of get graphics. So this is the actual JPanel's graphics that we're going to draw the image to. We want that one. Image, and no. Okay, and dispose of that when you're done. So what is this doing? I'm going to go over it real quick for you guys who are completely confused. The graphics object is basically like how you draw to an image, and this image is a virtual image that we're storing in memory that keeps track of everything we're drawing on the screen. We're going to draw the actual game board, all the game pieces, to this image, and then when we're done drawing to the image, and it's at this part of the loop, it's then going to get the graphics of the J panel and draw the final image to the J panel. So we'll see whatever's been drawing, it'll be visible to the user. Now this run method will be called when we start our thread. So we need a few variables. We need to get FPS to 0 and updates are going to be equal to 0. Just set these up. This is for the updating. So it'll print out how many updates in frame per second we're getting so that we know if our game is running fine. The FPS timer will be equal to system.current time in milliseconds. And this right here, I'll explain in a moment, is going to be able to do 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 0.0 divided by 60. I'll make sure it's a double. I think that's the right amount. I might have to check. But anyway, this keeps track of how many nanoseconds in between updates there are. Because we want to get the target of 60 frames per second, we're dividing by, I think, 1 billion by 60. That's because 1 billion nanoseconds are in 1 second. So let's get the last update time in nanoseconds. To do this, you need to get then will be equal to the system, the current time, and unprocessed is going to be equal to 0. What unprocessed is that's how many, that keeps track of how many updates we need to do just in case the rendering falls behind. So now we're going to move on to the update queue. Update queue. How do you spell this? Update queue, like that. So while the unprocessed, while there's something to process, so greater than 1, we're going to process it. So updates plus plus, we're going to add 1 because we've updated. We're going to actually update updates plus plus. We're going to subtract 1 from unprocessed because we've done that update, and should render equals true. Now I have not created that variable. You need a boolean called should render. Because we want to lock the frames per second at 60 times a second, we only want to render once it's updated. So now we're going to move on to rendering. So if you should render, then we're going to go ahead and render. So frames per second plus plus render. Should render equals false. You've rendered, you're done rendering, and you don't need to render anymore. Just initialize it to false. If you're not rendering, then just sleep the thread. Just sleep for a bit. Catch. This will pause the thread. Shouldn't be an error, but just in case, if there is an error, we want to print it out. Now, this is the FPS timer is essentially this prints out every second how many updates and how many frames per second. It's kind of a debug sort of way to do it. You normally wouldn't have this. So you get the current time minus how much time has passed, and if it's greater than a full second, if it's been greater than a full second, then we want to stum.out.printf, because we're going to format this to %d FPS %d updates Alright, that'll print it out nice and formatted. SYSO. Print out a blank line to go to the next line. Reset the FPS and updates variable back to 0. And reset the FPS timer by adding 1000. Alright, that's it for the game loop. So let's just go back and review a bit. Hold on. I forgot something in the game loop. Just a moment. Alright. While running, yes, I have missed out on a crucial step. We have to make sure it's running first, and then we can do that. So while the game's running, we now have to get the new time. Unprocessed is gonna plus equal now minus then divided by ns per update. So what this is gonna do is count how many updates we need to do based on how much time has passed, and then set the then to now, because we gotta reset the time here. And yeah, that's basically it. And this should not be up here. Oh geez. This should be right there. Alright. So what's gonna happen is when you first run, it's gonna set all these variables up 0, 0. It's gonna set the new FPS timer, and it's gonna make sure it's gonna check while it's running. If running gets set to false, this obviously won't be called. It'll stop updating and rendering. On each loop, it's gonna set should render to false. It's gonna get the new time, check to see if unprocessed, if it needs to update, and then reset the then. Update it if it should, render it if it can, sleep if it can't, and then print out every 1 second. Every second. I don't know, I just said every 1 second. Alright, 2 more methods, and then this video will be coming to an end. Public synchronized void start. Alright, so what this will do is this will start the thread by setting running to true, which will make it able to go through that loop. We're going to name our thread game for debugging purposes, and we're going to start the thread, and that'll call that run method there. We're synchronized because we need to make sure that this entire method gets called, that the thread manager won't switch threads in the middle, because that could mess things up. Synchronize void stop. I'm going to set running. If it's already stopped, then return. Otherwise, set running equal to false, and then exit the program on 0. Alright, so that's going to be it for this video. So let's go ahead and actually run it. And what are these errors up here? Yep. Alright, this is for something else. So that's why these have errors. Don't worry about that. Oh, and my formatter is a bit messed up. I'll fix that anyways in the next video anyways. I just said anyways twice. And let's go ahead and run this as a Java application. And that's exactly what we expected. It's a window with a white background, and that's all we did. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you have any questions, something not working, please put in the comments. I don't want to get questions like, you know, if you're getting red underlines and you can't figure it out, then that's something that you should know. In other words, I'm expecting that all questions are by people who know Java, the language itself. If you have issues with other things in terms of whatever, the thread's not running, then post that in the comments. I'll help you out as much as I can. And I guess we'll see you guys in the next video. Bye.